This is Edouard Manet's Luncheon on the Grass from 1863, and I used it as inspiration for my painting, Fat Shaming on the Grass. Now, before I even started on this piece, I knew that I wanted to take a classic image of a female nude, someone who by today's standards would be considered fat, and I wanted to replace that female nude with a clothed woman, fat woman. And so I was looking through a bunch of classic images of female nudes, and when I saw Luncheon on the Grass, I knew it had to be this one because there are these two clothed male figures behind the female nude that were just so interesting. So at the time when this painting was made in the 19th century, there were plenty of images of female nudes with clothed dudes, but the men were usually wearing some kind of mythological type costume. In this case, in Manet's painting, the men were wearing what was at the time modern clothing, and this was offensive and shocking to the people of the time. And so I wanted to be able to replace Manet's two male figures, the clothed figures, with something that I find equally offensive and shocking, which is the fashion world's standards or ideals of beauty that are so narrow and so completely uninteresting to most of us. This painting is part of Empathetic Magic, which is a series of portraits. Each of the subjects in the series are represented twice. Once how they emphasize the thing about them that makes them different from the mainstream, and once how they minimize that thing or try to hide parts of themselves. I've been working on this series for 4 years now, and in that time I've learned so much about what it means to be oppressed in today's society, and I've observed a pattern that I find particularly disturbing, which is that every time an oppressed group of people and their allies stand up and say, hey, these people over here deserve some respect, there's always someone who says, hey, we're feeling oppressed by your request to no longer be oppressed. And it's just maddening. It's like with the fat positivity movement. When that started to gain some traction, and maybe even still now, there are a bunch of articles by thin, mostly white women who were saying, just because I'm not curvy doesn't mean I'm not pretty too. And you know what, kitten? We're not saying that you're not pretty. We're just saying that fat people are beautiful too, that they are deserving of respect, that they should not be ridiculed in the way that they are so easily ridiculed in so many circles still today. And just because this group of people is asking for respect, asking to be seen as beautiful, doesn't take anything away from you, doesn't take anything away from anyone else. It's like with the Black Lives Matter movement that created, unfortunately, the All Lives Matter movement as a reaction. Black Lives Matter doesn't say that only Black Lives Matter, but All Lives Matter people seem to think that's what it's saying, and it's so unfortunate. And then, of course, there's the feminists who have to deal with the men's rights activists. It's not like feminists are trying to say that only women are important. No. It is very difficult to deal with people who believe that respect is a scarce resource, that there's only so much of it to go around, because that's not what respect is. There can always be more respect in the world, and just because one person is respected doesn't mean that someone else is respected less. That's just not how it works. And so, Empathetic Magic, this new series of paintings that I'm working on, is part of how I am trying to communicate to the world that respect is something that there can always be more of. Always. If you'd like to support the videos and art I make, you can do it on Patreon. Instagram and Facebook are also good places to keep track of my art.